what's up, YouTube? This is your host, King Geo. Like the hat. So today is Monday. Monday. And today's topics is going to be short, sweet, and to the point, basically. I put down the title for this, it's called Stop the Search. And when I say stop the search, there's no need to spend taxpayers' money looking for Brian Laundrie. There is no point. There's no point of the FBI wasting their resources. There's no point for Florida police to waste their resources. There's no point of giving this kid any more attention that he doesn't deserve. Right? Today in New York, Gabby Petito was they was giving her wake, and everybody, it's kind of amazing how we can go from one young woman's tragic death to the ignorance or the absence of so many girls that have been killed and they have not given the attention that they so deserve, right? Remember this, when they did the Gabby Petito case, when they reported her, and then a few days later they reported two young women died within that vicinity coming away from a bar. They found their bodies dead. After they couldn't put two and two together, they forgot about those two women. They haven't even mentioned those two women, right? And I'm not taking anything away from Gabby Petito. It's a tragic death. But they haven't mentioned about those two women ever again, right? And then they said that from 2012 to last year, 710,000 young women had vanished in that area alone. And no one has said anything. And here we are, we look into the story of Gabby Petito, as young as she was, as talented as she was. You give her time, right? But we forget about the other ones. So here we go. We put Gabby Petito here when ignoring what was left behind, right? We ignore that, right? The parents, God bless them. They say she touched the world's life. She just started living. I'm not taking anything away from it, but this is what you call. They have mentioned that I saw the other day. White. I know it's white supremacy, but it's called when white people. It's televising when something happens to the white community. That is just a white girl died, a white girl got killed by her boyfriend, and every media jumped on it. But when there's a colored girl or a brown girl or a brown guy, whatever the case may be, or a black guy, they don't say much unless something is negative about that person, right? Stop giving Brian Laundrie minutes and time that he does not need. Don't put your attention to that man, because that man knows where he's at. His parents know where he's at. I probably can tell you. I have a feeling in my gut that his parents know where he's at. Trust me. I think and I believe his parents know where he's at. Okay. I believe the kid he knows his way around. He's not a threat to others. We know that. Only to Gabby he was. He's not a threat to others. He knows he's got nowhere to go because he's plastered and posted everywhere, unless he's in a cabin somewhere. But he's doing better than most you and I. Okay. So let him creep out of the woods that he's in right now. He's gonna creep out one day. He's gonna come out one day. He's not gonna stay there forever. Okay. And go back. The FBI should go back to doing what they're doing. Stop giving this guy all the time. Stop giving Gabby Petito all the time in the world. You have to put your resources somewhere else. Look for other people who are missing. Solve crimes that are solvable. All right. I regret. I feel bad for the Petito family. My heart goes out to them. But there are other women out there who are being. Take this time. And you should shine. This time should shine. Who are victims of domestic violence. This time the media should get together, show documentaries, and show how you can get away from a domestic violence relationship. That's what you got to teach. That's what you should be teaching right now. Instead of saying Brian Laundrie could be here, or because you want ratings, or Brian's there. Forget the ratings. This is a moment that you teach others. I saw today on TikTok on Rockland, California, where a white cop did the same thing one-on-one what they did to George Floyd. The same thing. Yes, missing white woman syndrome. Thank you, Christina. Missing white woman syndrome. So in other words, the white woman missing syndrome, everything gets put back. The news, it doesn't matter if CNN, Fox, everybody, because she's a white woman. But if it's a colored woman or it's a brown woman, I don't even know why they even give us this name brown person. But anyways, they don't care. They really don't. So like I was saying, in Rockland County, California, today I saw on TikTok where a white officer put down a white guy, right? Put his knee to his neck, threw this up the, and I said to myself, is this wrong? What the cop is doing is wrong? Yes. Do I feel bad for the white guy? No. And I tell you why I don't feel bad. Because here we are. We in the minority group, we've been protesting for so long that we want justice for Breonna Taylor. We want justice for George Floyd. We want justice for everyone, for every black and Hispanic person who have died in the hands of these corrupt police officers, right? We want justice for them to be arrested. We want justice for them to get time. We want justice for the victims. We want justice for the people, for the family members who have suffered. Well, we don't get that. We got the black community voted for Joe Biden, right? Because it might be a change. And here goes this guy, and within months, he gives the Asian community a law, hold on, I'm gonna drink my water. He gave them an Asian hate law in 4 months in office. 4 months in office. The Asian community, not taking anything away from the community, gave the Asian community a law so long that they don't get a law. All right? We look at this. This is how idiot people are. We have the Republican who ran for governor for taking the Newsom spot for the recount. I forgot his name. He had the audacity to say that white people need reparation for slavery. Really? Is that what we're in today's society? So yes, so that is what it is. What is it again? White woman syndrome. And we're so fixated with galvanizing the white culture that we should be galvanizing everybody, guys, everybody. When one person is missing, whether it's black, white, brown, it don't matter. It's a human being. Why are we giving Gabby Petito's of the world a whole headline? All right. My daughter's mother was murdered 26 years ago in Broward County, Florida. And because she was white, blue eyes and all that, but because she was working at a strip club at the age of, I think it was 18, because she died in 1996, when she was murdered in 1996, not died, she was murdered in 1996. To this day, because she was working there, and by no means her parents were slouched, because her parents were middle class, they never gave her the attention that she so deserves. All right, like I said, I keep forgetting to put in the podcast where the Broward County Police, with the woman who's doing the podcast for the Broward County Police, shares into details how she died, how she was brutally murdered in 1996, and to this day, they haven't found anybody. How can one person disappear if she was only one person? And I'm telling you, they broke her jaw, they broke her nose, they broke her collarbone. I mean, they beat her up. She was found barely naked. Well, naked, all she had was underwear. And you're gonna tell me because she worked, and I didn't hire. I was working in Puerto Rico at a bar, in a restaurant, and I had met this private detective, It was him and his wife, fiance, should I say? And she's a big lawyer in Puerto Rico, and he was a detective in New York. He moved to Florida. And he was doing PI work. And I asked him, could he do me a favor? So he did do me the favor, and he looked around the Broward County Police and what they had. And when he came back to Puerto Rico, because they came to Puerto Rico a lot, he said, "Yo, Gio, there's not much I can find out because they're not going to investigate much of it because she were of the background. They're saying that she was a hooker, blah blah blah. She worked in a strip club, and just because of that, their priorities are straight. Now, if she was a rich white girl, like I mind you, she was white. If she was a rich white girl, they'll be hunting this person down to the day of time. Look, they even had me. They asked me back in 1996 because they said that they had a person of interest, but that person of interest was in jail. They told me, "Yo, G, would you?" The detectives at that time said, "Would you be willing to go into jail and act as a CI and find out if this person is the one that did this?" And I obliged to say, "Yes, I don't care. I'll do it just to find out who killed my baby's mom. I will do it." But then a few days later, they called me and they said, "Well, we spoke to the DA, and the DA said it's not a good idea because you're a family member and whatever you say, so it's not going to be good." So I said, "Okay, fine. At least I tried." Okay, but this is what tells you that we are fixated as a society. Not me, because I treat everyone the same. They are fixated with the white woman syndrome. When something happens to a white woman, they get the news. Okay, Nicole Simpson got gutted. I'm sorry, and she died in the hands. All right, and I would go as far as say it was OJ, and she came on the news all over, right? Boom. But when something like that happens to a black woman, you don't see it in the news. We don't hear about it because it's irrelevant. She was a black woman. Irrelevant, right? And that's the society that we live in today. This is why I tell people don't stick your head to CNN, don't stick your head to NBC, don't stick your head to Fox News or to any of these people. Get what you can from that news source and leave, because this is a time where our country should be healing, and we're not healing. We're going down. This country is divided by propaganda. This country is divided by conspiracy theorists. This country is divided by pompous, arrogant people who just think of me, 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 me. Put it this way, guys: if we would have matched up a year ago, we would have maxed up for, I would say, 60 days. We wouldn't be in this where we are right now. But because people are saying I'm going to wear a mask that is impeding my right as a person, I'm not going to wear it. Shit, you wear a bra. Does a bra? I mean, you wear underwear. Does an underwear do anything for you? Does it keep you from it? Are there any benefits from you wearing underwear? No, it doesn't. But you wear underwears anyway, right? So why can't you wear a mask? How dare you go to a school board meeting and say, "Well, my kids I can't see my kid's face. The kids can't see the kid's face. I can't see the other kids can see my kid's smile." It has nothing to do with the smile. It has something to do with you want to keep your child alive. People are taking this thing as a number game, or let's just say some people are saying 99.9% you get a survival rate. It's not that high, but it's in the 90s, but it's not 99. So are you willing to take that point something percent chance of you passing away, of you getting and passing away, or have a robust immune system? It's not going to happen to be. But are you willing to take that chance to be part of that point percent? No, don't be. Everybody's body reacts differently. You can't be foolish. You cannot be foolish. Look, I have HIV. Right? I've had it for 19 years, but I've known people that've had it for more than I have. And I've known people. I met this one guy that his aunt caught it, and within a year she passed away. And she didn't pass away because of the HIV. She passed away because of her mentality. This plays when you have a disease. Your mind, the cell of your mind, plays a lot of tricks in you, and how you take the news is very crucial on your survival. All right. In this case, in HIV, the reason HIV killed a lot of people back in the 80s, it was not the HIV itself, it was the mentality. Then they said it was a gay disease, which was not a gay disease. Okay. Back then, they told you you had AIDS, you're gonna die. So what did that person that had AIDS was doing? I got 6 months to live. I got 7 months to live. So I'm just gonna go around. I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna do drugs. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and it don't matter. And by doing that, what you're doing is that your immune system is going down. Depression is a bitch. Depression brings down your immune system. Okay, so when you come and now you have HIV, so when you get a cold, your body doesn't have enough CD4s to fight it. Boom, what is called T cells. It doesn't have enough T cells, and you die. You get to a depression. You get that time taxoplasmosis was the main thing. You die. Most people that have HIV that passed away didn't die because of the HIV. It was because they had PCP, because they got a cold. So when you have a news that, oh, you have AIDS, so they just didn't care. They was going to die anyway. That's their mentality. They was going to die anyway. I know people that had it since the beginning of time, and they had it for 30 some odd years, and they're doing well. I just met a guy who just recently got him pills. Recently, and he got him pills because of the COVID. He was 30 some odd years without a pill. 30 some odd years. Because why? It's here. If you exercise correctly and you get yourself on a good diet and you don't think about it, you could, my experience is that you could be without meds for a long time if you have HIV. But every disease is different. And when people say, oh, you know, we haven't found a cure for cancer, we haven't found a cure for HIV, but we got a vaccine for this, it's totally different. That's a virus. This is a disease. This is a virus. These two viruses act different. With that said, today's Monday, so we're going to talk everything Monday. So yeah, so going back to Gabby Petito, we have to take. She passed away. We are sorry about that, but we're gonna take the bad and turn it into a good. And how do we do that? Is that by the main media taking that and teaching our young girls, our young women, our young little teenage girls, our daughters, who are gonna become a woman one day, and teach them this is how you, or this is how you domestic violence. This is how this is how you notice that your man is a narcissist. This is how you notice that when it's time to be doing right now. That's what we should be teaching our young daughters right now. We should be teaching our boys also how to be men, not to be coward and beat up women, not to be coward and degrade women. Not tell your son men don't cry. Not tell your son the woman's place is in the kitchen. Not tell your son that your woman shouldn't be work. That's your job. No, that's not the way you raise a kid. And for all you guys out there who think it's funny to have sex with a girl and get her pregnant and leave her behind, that's called cowardice, bro. That's not being a man. And when that grows up and becomes a pedophile, becomes a rapist, becomes a woman beater, it's all because of you, the man, because a woman can only do so much. Okay? There are certain things a woman cannot teach her son. I'm sorry. There are certain things that a man cannot teach his son. I mean, a woman cannot teach his son. And there are certain things a man cannot teach a daughter. We can try. I tried with a single father. I believe you me. I tried my hardest to teach my daughter the ways. But unfortunately, sometimes it just don't work out. You gotta let them be. But you don't teach your kids, you don't teach your son how to badmouth a woman. You don't teach your son how to put down a woman. I saw a video the other day where a girl smacked her boyfriend or her ex-boyfriend for whatever reason, and the guy got up and he punched her, knocked her down. You don't do that. If a woman was to hit me, I'll walk away. All right? But if she hits me and she's knocking the tooth out just because she wants to, no. A woman's got to learn. You don't want to get hit, you don't put your hands on. And yeah, some men are stronger than women, so you got to take that. But never teach your son to be a womanizer. Never teach your son to hit women. Don't never teach your son to degrade women. Because let me tell you something. It's hard. It's hard enough for a woman to be without the baby's father. All right, her taking all the burden. All right, and there are men out there who are doing the same thing as a woman is doing right now, but it's just not reported. All right, there are men who are taking care I knew a friend of mine is taking care of 3 girls because his mom, the baby's mom, decided to them. So he's raising those 3 girls by himself. No alimony, nothing. He went to Vegas because her job, she wanted to be a stripper. He went to Vegas and she left him to 3 girls. That's cool. That's cool. But don't go around there and knocking up a girl and then just leaving with no worries in the world, because that's not the man thing to do. You have a responsibility as a man. Having sex is a responsibility. It's not just going in a girl and just having sex and that's it. It's a responsibility for both. You as a woman should know who you're sleeping with. So if this guy has 10 kids or 5 kids or 2 kids, and he's not taking care of those 2 kids, then what makes you think he's gonna take care of your kids? Or he's gonna take care of your kid if you give him one, if you get pregnant. Alright? That's the way you gotta think about it. Stop sleeping around with this guy because he looks good or he feels good. It can be no. There are things that are called condoms. There are things that are called birth controls. Use them. Use them. That's what they're there for. If you don't want to get pregnant or you don't want to bitch around that, oh, the baby's father's not there, the blame falls on both of you because you slept with a guy, you barely even knew, and he got you pregnant. Or you slept with a guy thinking that he was the best thing in the world, and he got you pregnant, and you knew about his past. Because I did the same thing with my baby's mom. My first marriage, I thought that I could change this woman. But I was wrong. Because she wasn't married previously, but she had 2 kids that she totally ignored. She took out a knife on a 6-month-old daughter, put it to her neck. And that's how she lost custody. And me stupidly knowing what happened to her, what she did, I married her thinking that maybe I can change it around. Maybe I can give her a life that maybe he didn't give her. Maybe I tried, I tried my best, but my best wasn't good enough. There's no saying, and I'm sorry to say you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. And that's what I was doing. Because to this day, she still acts the way she was 20 some odd years ago. She has not changed at all. So that was my mistake. Would I ever do it again? No. But I've learned from that. But I raised because she left my daughter and I raised my daughter on my own. I raised my daughter according to me, not no religious belief, not no political belief, not even what my mom told me. No, I raised my daughter the way that I believe that she should be raised. I didn't give her no religion because that's not my thing. I'm not into religion. Yes, I taught her about God. I taught her about, Jesus. I taught her about her own body. I told her, we watch educational films on how babies are made and stuff like that, so she can know. Films that when she got a certain age, I didn't teach her about STDs. I did. When my daughter became of a certain age, I told her about my HIV. I told her how I got it. I told her what it is. Well, I didn't tell her how I got it. I didn't want to implicate. I didn't want to say that her mother gave it to me. But I said this is what it is. And I taught her all that. I could, but things sometimes are out of your control. We try our hardest, and my daughter's not a bad daughter. She's a great daughter, but I think I know it all. You have to let them be. You have to let them fall, so when they can say, "Dad, you were right," and you don't glow and say, "Yeah, I know." You say, "Well, it is what it is." You have to let your kids grow. You have to let your kids make their mistakes. Because mistakes is what makes you grow. You have to, in life, you have to make mistakes in order for you to grow. There are certain mistakes that you make, and there's certain mistakes you can avoid. Avoid mistakes that you have to. But mistakes that are not avoidable, those are mistakes that you learn from. That you grow as a person. And that is simple. You grow as a person, and it makes you a better you. So tomorrow you say, you know what? I made that mistake. I remember when I did this. If I didn't make that mistake, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And it is what it is. But we need to try as a country, as a civilization, we need to stop gabalizing white culture. We are culture canceling a lot of stupid shit that we as kids we grew up hearing one thing, And that's another. They can't do what they canceled Pepe Le Pew. Pepe Le Pew, a little skunk. The little he tried to do. He wanted to get Maui. He wanted to do a French kiss. Nothing wrong with that. No, it's very perverted. After 40 some odd years, Pepe Le Pew is a pervert. They say he's a pervert now. But yet, 30, 40 years ago, you had priests raping little boys, and they wouldn't be prosecuted, right? Because the church, the Catholic Church, took him from one church. Oh, you've been a bad boy. You've been playing with boys' pee-pee. Now you got to go to another church because they cannot know that here because then we lose the money, right? But now they're Catholic culturing. They're Catholic culturing songs. They're doing everything. They're doing everything. I mean, I just saw a white teacher the other day that she posted. Actually, I think this was by a Black Lives Matter from Anna Capri, which is a great woman. She teaches you a lot. She's on Facebook. She's from Black Lives Matter. She put down a picture of a woman teaching her class the pros and the cons of slavery. Can you believe that? Pros and cons of slavery? What stupidity is that? What kind of stupid stuff is that? And then today you see in the news where a white guy working for FedEx, and he should have gotten fired, where he put, I am not delivering any package to those people who have a Black Lives Matter flag or a Biden-Harris flag. Your package is going to be taken back to the to headquarters, and they're going to stay there because I'm not delivering it. And he got fired. Good for him. First of all, your personal opinion, you keep to yourself. Second of all, you're a dumbass for going on TikTok and having your FedEx uniform on and say you work for FedEx, and you should have gotten fired. I would have fired you. With your political views, your personal views should not do anything with your job. I worked as a manager, and as a manager in food and beverage, let's just say if I didn't like Puerto Ricans or I didn't like blacks, I'm not gonna go tell you to face. I'm not gonna serve you here because you're black or you're Puerto Rican. I don't like that. No, because that's my personal opinion. My job is my job. I'm going to serve you the same way I serve everybody else, with grace, with kindness, and with great service. What I feel about the race itself has nothing to do with my job, and I'm surely not going to politicize it. I'm not going to go in public and say, "Hey, blah blah." No, it's not. I'm not going to do that. It's retarded to. It really is. So let's stop looking at this white culture as a great culture. Let's stop with the fallacy of, I don't know why Biden even said this. Let's make America great again. People, when has America been great? If you're rich, America's always been great. If you're making good money, America's always been great. But if you're poor, when has America been great? Could you tell me a time that America's been great? Can you tell me? I live in the South Bronx. Shit, we used to get bricks of cheese blocks because we didn't have. When was that great? When is it great that my father had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go all the way from Bronx to Queens to work in a factory? All right. My father was old school. He came from Puerto Rico, and he had to drop out of school at an early age because he had to take care of his mother. When I say my father, he's my stepfather, but he's my dad. He's my dad. And he dropped out because he had to take care of his family. So I can understand that. But when you come into the 80s and 90s and 2000, and you have people that cannot meet ends meet, I mean, it's just ridiculous that people nowadays think that you getting paid $15 an hour in New York is great money. Getting paid $20 an hour is great money. No, it's not. You know how expensive a rent is in New York, California, San Francisco, Texas, Florida. It's a lot of money. So $20 an hour is not gonna do things. When you see someone say, "Oh," when you see a worker at McDonald's say, "Oh, we want to get paid $15 an hour or $20 an hour, or just for flipping burgers," it's not just flipping burgers, guys. There's a lot of things that go on in that McDonald's that you guys don't see. How management is not existent. Right? You could be doing the grill in one place, and then they send you from the grill to do French fries, and then from doing French fries, they send you to do drink, and then to doing drink, they go do dishes or go take out the garbage. Or the person that's missing that ain't coming to work today. Now you gotta do the grill, you gotta do bread, and you gotta do the wrapping. That's not. And then people say, "Oh, so educate yourself, do something." That's not the point. The point is that here comes management that's non-existent. Is sending you to do. You're running around McDonald's like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's. You're running around like a chicken without a head, and you're not going ahead. You're not going to. I saw here in North Carolina, in Greensboro, Chick-fil-A, where in Greensboro, where every employee was black, but the manager was white. What does that make you? What does that tell you? Me, as I started off with Wonders of the World. My first job was Walt Disney World, and I learned a lot from Walt Disney. And when I worked in Disney, and when I worked in Wonders of the World, then I worked in the Twin Towers. I worked from dishwasher all the way up to food and beverage manager. And when I worked all my jobs in food and beverage management business, I learned one thing: just because you're down here, that means you can't come up here. So I teach my employees, when you're doing dishwasher, try to become a waiter. When you become a waiter, try to become food and beverage manager. Become food and beverage manager, come manager the whole freaking thing. And if it's a big company, become general manager. Grow within yourself. Don't stay stuck. And if I own a Chick-fil-A, if I own a McDonald's, that's what I do. I'll start you off menial, and I'll train you here. I'll train you here. I'll train you here. And whom I see is the best doing whatever it is. Hey, listen, I have a manager position coming up. Do you want it? Oh, no, I don't want it because it's too stressful. Blah. Okay, fine. But I offered it to you. I go on to the next person. They don't want, I go to the next person. I give the opportunity to everybody so they can come up. Some managers don't do that. Most managers don't do that because they want to keep that to themselves. If you pay your employees good money, I guarantee you're going to have a good company. All right? Because this model that the customer is always right, no, the customer is not always right. That was back something that we grew up in the 70s and the 80s, that the customer is always right. No, it's not. The employees is the one that makes a company. So if you have an employee, or you have employees that you pay them good enough, all right? You pay them their worth, not what you think, $7.25 an hour, because that's federal minimum, or 10. No, you pay them what you're worth. If you're making $1 million a year or $2 million a year, you can afford to give that person more money. Or if you're not even making that much, but you know that you can afford to give this person $20, even $30 an hour, and that person, and you're making a profit out of that, and you're still living, you got a good house, your mortgage is paid, everything you got is paid for. Let's put it that way. Everything that you got for is paid for. All right, let's put it that way. Everything that you have is paid for. So everything that you have paid for, everything else is extra income, right? So you can afford to pay that person a little bit extra because that person wasn't. You were in that same boat. Well, you probably was in the same boat that person was. So you pay that person extra, and I guarantee you that if you pay that employee that money that employee deserves, you're going to get the best of that employee, and people are going to start coming in because why? Because that person is going to smile. That person is going to say, "How you doing?" That person is going to do this, and when that customer or that guest comes into that store or comes into your business, they're going to feel welcome because this person is happy, and that's what a lot of people don't know. Your employees is the one that makes your job. That makes your business. But you have to know who to recruit. You have to know who to employ. You just can't be. I've seen people that just go get a job because they want to get a job. And when you're in the customer service industry, you just can't hire anybody because people don't know how to separate their house lives, their personal lives with business lives. I've seen customers curse at employees and employees curse them back. You don't do that. Not because that customer is right. No. Not because of that. It's because it makes the company looks bad. All right. So you say, whatever you say, ma'am, whatever you say, sir, whatever you say, you win. And don't even just try to de-escalate it by just ignoring the person. Pick up the phone, call the cops, and let the cops handle it. Okay. But don't go into a verbal match with the person. Now, the person gets physical. The person goes and breaches over the counter or reaches where you're at, then that's a whole different ballgame. That's a whole different ballgame. Like you see these guys in Walmart, in Costco's, and these guys, the customers come or the shoplifter comes and they shoplift and they go out and they run out with the merchandise or they go out and you leave your post to go chase this person or you leave your post to go get that merchandise. Why are you risking your life to do that? The company's insured. That person left with the merchandise, they're on camera, reported to your lost and found, your prevention department, and let it be. You don't leave your post for something that's not yours. Because if you die, that company is not going to help your family out. That company's not going to do anything for you. So why risk it? Why risk it? I wouldn't risk it. Most policies, most jobs tells you, don't leave. Just do your report and let them be. It's true. And it is what it is, guys. So we have to stop having this white syndrome. I'm gonna bring Anna Capri one day here this week, and we're gonna talk about this because we have to do a lot of things in this country in order to make it good look. How do I feel about the Supreme Court expanding SSI to Puerto Rico? Do you think it's going to win? Okay, a lot of things that people in Puerto Rico do not know, and I want to tell you this: if you, there's a clause, if you look it up, but I'm going to put it up later on this week. There's a clause within SSI. There's a clause within SSI that says that you can take your SSI to Puerto Rico and live there, but a lot of representatives of the SSI don't know about it. So when you go to take, if you want to live in Puerto Rico, and you want to take SSI, you got to take that little portion to them and let them know that it exists. But there is a provision that lets you take SSI to Puerto Rico. Now, how I feel about Puerto Rico being expanded SSI? Okay, I think that Puerto Rico deserves the same rights as the United States. All right, we've been a colonization for so long. We're not supposed to exist. Colonization is not supposed to exist. At this point of age, this is not supposed to. It's supposed to be non-existent. Now, expanding SSI to Puerto Rico is a good idea for the people who needs it the most. And when I say that, you have to look at it from another perspective of the abuse. Puerto Rico is corrupt. All right. I know a guy who got he got disability because he said he couldn't work, but he was doing cocaine and crack. But he worked there. He worked fine. As a matter of fact, I have a cousin in New York who works. He does everything right, but he's an SSI. He's an SSD and SSD, but motherfucking work. I don't talk to him, not because of that, but that's his own thing. But there are people who scam the system. So yes, SSI should be expanded to Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico is an island that even though it's a Commonwealth of the United States, it has given a lot to the United States. We risk our lives in Puerto Rico to fight for this country. All right, my uncle went to war at 18 in 1969, went to Vietnam, a war that we shouldn't have been in, and he never made it back. My grandmother got a flag. No money. Didn't say we're gonna give you a monthly check. We're gonna say you see the house. We're gonna pay for it because your son gave his life for us. None of that. None of that. So SSI should be expanded to Puerto Rico. The people of Puerto Rico who have those kids. I mean, if you go to Puerto Rico every year on a school year, there's something wrong. You don't got your English teacher, you don't got your math teacher, you don't got this, you don't got nothing because the education system is so corrupt in Puerto Rico. The person that was supposed to take care of the Puerto Rican system, Keller, when she was on the Rosselló, went to jail a few years ago. I mean, got called by the FBI because she was given a contract. You got Rosselló picked an American woman to try to run an education system, which she knows nothing about in New York. She wanted to implement Chinese into our culture, into our school system, because Rosselló said We gotta speak Chinese because we need to work with. We don't even know. They don't even know English. How you gonna? How you trying to teach them to speak? I'm sorry, it's Mandarin. Why? So every year you have to go to the school. The parents have to pay for painting. The parents have to do a lot of things, but it's corrupt. But SSI should be expanded to Puerto Rico because we give a lot to Puerto Rico. Gives a lot to Puerto Rico. Gives a lot to the United States, and it goes to the economy. It would help the economy of Puerto Rico a lot. There's a lot of people who are starving out there. People may not know that, but Puerto Rico is not. It's a beautiful island and it has great people, but economically wise, it's not doing great. And why is it not doing great? Because of the corruption of the Puerto Rican government. You know, Puerto Rico wants to become a state, but Puerto Rico doesn't know how to act as a state. Puerto Rico doesn't know how to be a state. That's the problem. And they're doing this the whole way. They're doing this wrong. Because Puerto Rico, as a democratic island, they are looking for the Democrats to do this. But what they don't think about is that Congress is the one, not the President of the United States. It's Congress who decides whether Puerto Rico becomes a state or not. So forget about the Democrats. What you have to do, you have to convince Republicans. If you can convince Republicans that it's worth their time voting for Puerto Rico to become a state, you'll be a state. Plain and simple. You'll be a state. Because all they want is vote. But that's why Washington, D.C. is not a state. Because most of the residents in Washington, D.C. are Democrats. And where they come from, they're African Americans. They don't want to give that much power to African Americans. No. Do you think if Puerto Rico became a state, Puerto Rico will have 5 seats in Congress? 5 seats in Congress. All right? They will hold the lead majority. Do you think that Republicans want the Puerto Ricans? Do you think they want Puerto Ricans to hold a Senate? To lead a Senate? No. To us have the last decision, or we could be a crucial part of that decision. We can make them or break them. They don't want that. No. So they're not gonna give you that. Put it this way: the Republicans, if Puerto Rico became a state, some states, there's 5 states that would have to give up their seats in order for Puerto Rico to go in. They're not going to do that. Florida's one of them. Florida's not going to want to do that. They want Puerto Rico to become a state, but they don't want to give up a seat. Texas is another one. California has to give up a seat. So there's 5 seats. There's 5 states. Other 2 states I forgot, but they would have to give up a seat in order for Puerto Rico to gain those 5 seats, and they're not going to do that. Some states have to give up 2. I forgot, but you can Google it. But like I was saying, so yes, SSI should be expanded. What the I forgot his name. Federal Judge Domecq from Puerto Rico, he did say that Puerto Rico should be giving SSI because there was a case a year and a half ago, I think it was Davila versus United States, where this guy went from New York to Puerto Rico and was taken and his SSI. He was receiving SSI while he was in Puerto Rico because he didn't report it to SSI in New York. In New York, when you're in the States, you have to, if you're out of the state for 30 days, you have to report it. Your SSI gets cut off. It doesn't get the case doesn't get closed. It gets cut off, and when you come back to the United States, and then your case becomes active all over again. Well, I don't know if he could give executive orders as to do that. I want to look into that. Thank you for that. I don't know if he has that power. But every president, if that's the case, Biden. I mean, if that's the case, Barack Obama could have done that, and Barack Obama didn't do it. You see, so I don't know. I know that he has the executive order to cancel student debt. But as far as to expand SSI to Puerto Rico, no, I'm not sure. But I want to find out. Thank you for that. But what I was going back is that SSI. So this guy went to Puerto Rico. What was given in Puerto Rico was given SSI for, I think it was for 3 years, and then the government, the Social Security Administration, held back his check. They're saying that he owes them $22,000. So he took that into court. So the federal court in Puerto Rico said no, he's not going to pay that back because as an American citizen, he's an American citizen, and the people of Puerto Rico should be treated as citizens. They're being treated as second class. So then they took that to the appeals division here in the United States, which is in Puerto Rico. I think it's the First Circuit Court, which runs Boston, New York, Maine, and all that. And I'm not sure what the appeal decision was then, but right now they're going through that, and I think it's going to win. I think Puerto Rico is going to. I think Puerto Rico is going to win that. Puerto Rico right now, it's not. It's Puerto Rico right now. It's not. It's one of the states. Well, it's not even a state, but it's a Commonwealth that's not. It's not under the SNAP program. So the same benefits that you get here for food stamps, you don't get them in Puerto Rico. They get their money gets allocated. So that means that money has to be distributed around the island. Yes, it goes by what you make, but it's far, far less than what you would get here in the United States. Far less. Medicaid, we're not under the Medicaid program either. So there's a lot of different things that Puerto Rico don't get that they get here in the States. But yet, we fight for wars. But yet, if you're a federal employee in the United States and you live in Puerto Rico, you pay for income, you pay your federal tax, right? Puerto Rico gives a lot. If you look it up, Puerto Rico gives over $7 to $8 billion a year on federal funds. But all that money, but yet Puerto Rico has the Jones Act, meaning that in order every food that comes from every merchandise that comes to Puerto Rico, let's say it comes from China, has to go from China, goes to the United States, which is basically it goes to Florida. That merchandise has to be carried out from that cargo to a vessel, a cargo from the United States, that has to be shipped from Florida to Puerto Rico in a vessel from the United States with an American flag. So and then that product, when it reaches Puerto Rico, they get charged more, and then Puerto Rico is foot with that bill because now they're charging Puerto Rico for that cargo, not just coming from China to the United States, but they're charging Puerto Rico from the United States going to Puerto Rico when that shipment could have just come easily from China to Puerto Rico. Simple. That means that it's more cost effectively. The merchandise will be cheaper for the people or more economic for the people. So now you're coming from here to there, it's costing them, it's double. The milk, put it this way, milk in Puerto Rico is $6 and some odd change a gallon. While here in the United States, you get them at some places, you get it for $3, $2.99, right? But what I don't understand, Puerto Rico has a lot of cows. Why is milk so expensive? Why? Because electricity in Puerto Rico is one of the most expensive electricity around the world. Electricity in Puerto Rico is higher than any place in the United States of America. It really is. You can look it up. So with electricity being so high, you have to keep production, and that's costing you a lot of money. So then they have to raise the price of milk. So I understand that because Puerto Rico is still living in an antiquated system, right? They haven't changed. Now they gave it to they sold it to his company called Luna, who's a horrible company who does know nothing. He knows something about electricity here in the States, but went to Puerto Rico and they don't know the routes. There's still places in Puerto Rico with no lights. There's a lot. Puerto Rico, government-wise, is down the drain. I love my people. I love my island. But the people of Puerto Rico are the same people in the United States of America. When it comes to politics, they are fanatics. They always vote blue or red. Blue in Puerto Rico is Democrat, and red is Republican. And the Democrat Party in Puerto Rico has destroyed the island completely. The Republicans have done the same thing. There's no insane about it. So I really thought that we was going to see this big movement in Puerto Rico, where another party was going to come in, and there were several parties that were gaining, and I thought that Alexandria Lugaro was a great candidate to become the governor of Puerto Rico, but she ran 4 years ago, and she was going to win. But what happened when she said that she was an atheist, that she didn't believe in God? Boom, most of her voters went away because Puerto Rico is a Catholic. It's a Catholic thing. Here we go again, putting religion into politics. We shouldn't do that. So here it is. So they lost her. So she came. She got over 100 and some odd thousand votes for the first time for an outsider with no party affiliation, no endorsement, because no one endorsed her. So but she got 100 and some odd thousand votes, and these other parties got 200 and some odd thousand votes apiece. So she came close. So then last year, there were several parties that were in the race too, right? So I wanted her to win, or it was going to be the independent party with Lourdes Santiago, where I think she's an extremely intelligent woman. Her and Lourdes are two extremely intelligent young women. But the only thing is that Lourdes Santiago is for the independent party. And so when you speak independent party, people in Puerto Rico feel, oh no, she's independent. She just wants independence for Puerto Rico and blah, blah, blah. But they don't understand that Puerto Rico cannot be independent unless the Congress of the United States gives them that authority. Puerto Rico cannot do anything without the United States permission. Think about that. They could have the government. The government gave them.
When you're driving a lane,
the government gave them their own rules. You could do your own law. You could do.
Which leaves us to wonder, where does it go?
You could do your local laws. You could do all that in Puerto Rico, but when it comes to federal law, you have to follow federal rules. And everything that gets done, it gets done by federal. Okay? So if you get funded, what happened with Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico still had blue tarps in their ceilings. Blue tarps, guys. Trump never gave all that money that was supposed to be given to them to Puerto Rico, which I understand why, because there's so much corruption in Puerto Rico. So I understand, but you still got to get people homes. You still got to get people jobs, but they don't do that. Puerto Rico lives in a fantasy world. And I'm telling you this, I lived in Puerto Rico for 14 years. I love Puerto Rico with all my heart. But they're so backdated. Look, they go through major hurricanes every year. So you would think, oh my God, you would think you have hospitals. You make hospitals, and when the hospitals, you give them solar power. Every hospital should have a solar system. Should have generators. Most of them don't. They have generators, but they don't have solar panel. So when something like this happens, when a hurricane happens, you have the fire station, the police station, the hospitals, everything that needs to be communicated has a communication. When Hurricane Maria came through, they didn't even have radios. Who doesn't have your government? Who doesn't have a radio so you can reach the outside world, so you can let other people know what's going on? It'll cost you maybe $1,000 to $2,000 per phone, but you give those phones to government officials who can get in contact with each other, and they can get in contact with the United States and let them know what's going on. But they don't do that. And then they build houses. You got a cement house here, and then on top, they build wooden houses. So when a hurricane comes, or a storm comes, what happened? That wooden house gets knocked down. So now FEMA comes, and FEMA has to give you $8,000, $9,000. So instead of you saying, let me make this house out of cement, no, you don't. You make it out of wood again. So Puerto Rico should say, you're no longer able to build wood houses. I don't care if it's cement. I prefer paying $40,000. If I'm the government, I prefer paying $40,000 for a cemented house on top of another house. Make sure it's secure. Then every time that a hurricane passes by or a storm passes by, a roof goes out or this goes out. So I have to I have to give you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. That's every year. God forbid it happens every year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. There's a lot of things that Puerto Rico need to do if they want to become a state. There's a lot of things Puerto Rico do. Puerto Rico should, number one, should audit themselves. Puerto Rico needs to find out where that money went to, because Puerto Rico has over $72 billion in debt. Over. How did you get that from, at that time, there's only 4 million people in the island. 4 million people. How did you get a $72 billion debt? When the governor at that time, Padilla, became governor, he asked, Puerto Rico never had a sales tax until 2004. 2004, when the sales tax came in for the first time, it was 7%. Right? 7%. So when Alejandro Garcia Padilla became governor, at one point he said, let me look at the books. And when he looked at the books, he says, where is the 7% sales tax? No one knew what that sales tax was. So when he opened up the books that nobody did before, governors before him, there was a $77 billion debt. on an island of 4 million people. So he was scratching himself, where does this money go? So instead of him saying, let me audit the country, let me audit this island, let me see where the money's going through. No, he didn't do that. He let it go. So what he did do was that he raised the taxes from 7% to 12.5%, the highest sales tax of any state in the United States. Puerto Rico has the highest, to this day, Puerto Rico has the highest sales tax. Why? Because if he would have opened up the books, he would have known where the money is. He would have taken all those people that stole from Puerto Rico. They would have gone to jail. But they don't do that because his own party is mixed up in this. His people, his family members, they're all mixed up. And that's the part about Puerto Rico, that when they want to do something good, when they want to build Puerto Rico, who they give the contracts to? Family members. Who they give the contracts to? To friends. You're supposed to auction those contracts. You're supposed to be giving it to the highest bidder or to the lowest bidder, whichever you feel comfortable with. Puerto Rico don't do that. Puerto Rico's mayors in each town hire a family member. So if you're hungry or you need a job, they'll give it. The mayor of my town, of Puerto Rico, Las Piedras, Puerto Rico. Everybody in his family has a title in his office. I think his daughter is supervisor for the kitchen, which he has no experience. His nephew, he has no experience whatsoever in the kitchen, but he's a supervisor there for the whole region of Las Piedras. Every school in Las Piedras, he is the regional manager there. His niece is a regional manager or something else. He got like 3 or 4 family members working there with no experience whatsoever. But here you have people who do have experience, and he doesn't get the job done to. I went to him 3 times for a job, and those 3 times he told me, come by my office, he never attended me. I said, F you. I never voted for him because the town of La Piedra, it's so antiquated. The baseball field that they built is still torn down from Maria. Hasn't been built. Hasn't been rebuilt. So we don't have a community. We don't have places to go. I mean, it's a disgrace when you have a mayor that has not done nothing for you, but yet the people still vote for him because he's from that party. Mickey Mouse can be in that party and they still vote for him. So the people of Puerto Rico, these old antiquated people, they don't think outside the box. They say, oh, because my father and my mother's blue, is PNP, I'm going to be PNP. That's the blue party. If my mother and father was PDP, so I'm going to be PDP. Yes, Christina, it's really bad and corrupt. Puerto Rico, look, Puerto Rico had the second biggest police force of all the United States of America. New York was number 1. New York had over 33,000 police officers. And when I say New York, I mean New York City. I mean Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, and Staten Island. Those are the 5 boroughs. So out of those 5 boroughs, they had 33,000 police officers. Because when you're talking about the New York State itself, it's more than that because you have different towns. But for those 5 boroughs, New York had 33,000. In Puerto Rico, for the 72 or 78, I think 78 municipalities that they had 19,000 strong. So what happened? Because of the debt that these inept of government did, so you work so many years in the police force, you work so many years as a school teacher, you work so many years as a fire department, that you put into retirement. You know what happened? That retirement was gone because Puerto Rico's government had to take money out of that retirement, right, to pay back the debt that they caused. So that retirement that you put together for all those many years was gone. So now you went from 19,000 police officers to 11,000. All right? They can't pay me enough to become a police officer in Puerto Rico. And the pay there is horrible. You get paid maybe $1,800 to $2,200 a month in Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, you go to projects. And the projects maybe 5 buildings, 5 floors high. Could be as low as 3 floors high. And the drug dealers are the ones who control the island. An island of 4 million people, you have drugs. Cops don't even go in there because when they go in there to do a job, when they go in there to patrol, the people throw rocks at them, the people shoot at them, and they don't know that the cops are there to defend them. but they don't care. I saw this one place in a project where I used to live at, where this guy took over a whole entire floor, barricaded it with gates, put metal doors on both sides, and that's it. And these are projects that are owned by HUD, people, by HUD, Housing Urban Development. These are federally owned buildings, not run by New York. I mean, not run by the United States. They're run by private companies that they're hired by Puerto Rico. But the building, the program itself, is from HUD. So why can't the federal? This is the federal. So why can't the feds do something about it? Why can't they secure? Why can't they just take these lame ass drug dealers out? This is a small island. You know, in Puerto Rico thinks that having strong laws is a good thing to do. In Puerto Rico, if you get caught with a joint or a blunt, let's put that. Most people don't smoke blunt. No, most people don't do joints anyway. If you get caught with a blunt, you're doing 3 years. You get caught with a nickel bag, you're doing 3 years automatic. There's no way around it. That's the way the law is set up. My uncle died on a fight, and my uncle was an alcoholic, but he was humble. He never got into a fight. Something happened in the bar with 3 young kids. They fought him. My uncle was like what, maybe 5'1", and he got drunk. Or they could be, I don't know what happened. They fought him. They beat him up. When they punched him up, he hit the ground. He hit his head on the corner of the sidewalk, and he was bleeding. My uncle took him to a hospital in Puerto Rico, and the audacity of the doctor, the emergency room, says, we don't treat alcoholics. But mind you, my uncle was bleeding through his ears. We don't treat alcoholics. Let him get sobered up. So then they took him to the regional hospital, which was the hospital for the whole entire island, right? And there they had him in emergency, and so they had to induce him in a coma because they had to swallow the brain. So the point is that these 3 kids got 3 years probation. 3 years probation for doing this to my uncle, right? 3 years probation. Now, if you get caught with a nickel bag, you do 3 years in jail. Automatic. You can have the best lawyer there is. He can't get you out because that's the law in Puerto Rico. So think about it. You get caught with a nickel bag, you get 3 years in prison. You do involuntary homicide, you get 3 years probation. And then my family didn't even sue the hospital for negligence. I would have sued, but that was not my call. But I would have sued the hospital because you don't neglect care to them. So yes, Puerto Rico is corrupt. All right? Puerto Rico is, the system in Puerto Rico is corrupt. You have doctors leaving in Puerto Rico because they don't get paid adequately enough. You got professionals. I mean, Puerto Rico are lacking specialists. Pediatrics are leaving Puerto Rico. Dentists are pretty. I think there's only 2 doctors in Puerto Rico. Well, when I was there were 2 doctors who were proctologists. That's a doctor that works with the anus. There weren't too many cardiologists. I know there's not as less. So there aren't that many specialist doctors in Puerto Rico because it doesn't pay. It doesn't pay. You do a job, you study so hard, you work for an island, and here comes the government and does this to you. And now check this out. And now the government of Puerto Rico is saying that if you live in Puerto Rico for 6 months and you come and you open up a business in Puerto Rico, right? And you live there for 6 months, you don't pay no tax. You live tax-free. That's why Paul Logan went to Puerto Rico when he did the Mayweather fight, because he wanted to keep that money so he doesn't get taxed. Okay, that's why there's a lot of people are in Puerto Rico right now are opening up businesses in Puerto Rico. This way they don't pay taxes. All right. There's a guy there who does flipping houses. I forgot his name. I'll look it up. He has his LLC is in Puerto Rico. He's not living in Puerto Rico. He's living in the United States, but he has residence in Puerto Rico. So while you're rich, you go to Puerto Rico. You can do crypto, and you don't get taxed. And you stay there for 6 months. You are a resident. You can come back here, but you don't pay taxes there. But while people in Puerto Rico who are busting their ass, the citizens of Puerto Rico who are busting their ass, they gotta get taxed. They gotta pay taxes. Now, mind you, also another thing that I wanted to get to, if Puerto Rico became a state, Puerto Rico right now, you have to pay your property tax, but the property tax is not like property tax here. The property tax there is after a certain amount, you gotta pay a certain percentage. I don't know how much. I think 10% or 20% of the value of the house, something like that. But it's not a lot. So even if you don't pay your property tax, it's very hard for them to come and get your house and take it away from you, unless it's banked, unless you have a mortgage on it. And if you don't pay your mortgage, of course. But if the house is given to you by a family member, or it's given to you, whatever it can be, and it's already paid for, and you don't pay the property tax on that, then you don't get the title for the house. Or you get the title and you want to sell it, you can't sell it because you owe. But they're not going to come to your house and take it. It's not like here. Here in the United States, you don't pay your property tax. After a certain amount of time, your house is taken away. So after you force yourself, after you beat yourself up and you kill yourself for the house and you get into a rut that you can't pay it, you can't pay the tax on your house, it gets taken away from you. And if Puerto Rico became a state, that's what would happen to Puerto Rico too. So it is what it is, guys. And right now, the Republicans said that they was not going to free up the ceiling for the debt. So it could be a shutdown. Now, mind you, back in 2019, the Democrats they voted with the Republicans to lift the debt of the United States so they can borrow more, right? They did that. But Trump said no because Trump wanted $5 billion to build the wall. And the Republicans and Democrats says, we'll give you 1.6. And Trump said no. So what I'm telling you this is because the Democrats were in agreement with the Republicans. Now the Republicans are not in agreement with the Democrats about raising the ceiling. Now, mind you, a few months ago, back in March, if you look at the video in Google, you will see a representative, you will see a state congressman say, if all we have to do is hold up for the next 18 months and deny the Democrats everything so we can win the Senate back and we can win the House of Representatives back in 2022. All we have to do is hold on to 18 months and reject everything the Republicans, reject everything the Democrats do. So that's what it is. So this is all political, guys. Let's stop fantasizing about voting president and voting this. At the end of the day, none of these people care about you and me. All they care is that vote. They care that power that they have. They get that power that they get once they become president of the United States or once they become senator. It's a power game, bro. It's a power game. Rand Paul is after Dr. F, right? But when he was with Trump, he didn't say anything about that, right? Yeah. He criticized Dr. F because of this and that. Rand Paul is an ophthalmologist. What does he know about viruses? Nothing. Básicamente.
No, iba a buscar algo para él.
¿El qué?
Camisa o algo.
¿Para qué? Me estoy ahí está toalla.
No, es para limpiar y para pegar algo.
So,
Para ropa mía.
how is Rand Paul going to tell Dr. F what he can't do? What he shouldn't be doing? He's an ophthalmologist, people. He's an eye doctor, for Pete's sakes. And because he's not good of an eye doctor, he went to Senate because his father was a senator. So I can see if your father's a senator, you want to become a senator, okay, fine. But to become a senator, you want to help people. That's not the case here. We're living in the world, we're living in a country where it's me, 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 me. We are in the health crisis that we are right now because people refuse just to wear. Well, they wear underwears, they wear thongs, that doesn't bother them at all. But because they don't want to wear this. And for all you people who think that the United States of America, that the government doesn't have the right or doesn't have the power to mandate you to get inoculated, yes, it does. It was mandated. Hep B was mandated. Smallpox was mandated. Polio was mandated. All right? If you look at the case of Jacobson and the United States in 1904, that was mandated. Okay, the United States said, the federal courts that said the health of the population, of the people, is much more important than your personal views. And it is true. So if you think that they don't have the power to mandate you, think again. And all this because you don't want to wear a mask. Simple. It's not because you're taking my rights away, my freedom. It's nothing to do with your freedom. It's something to do with your health. And this is the propaganda, and this is the misinformation, and this is the conspiracy theories that people do. And listen to this, people. This is the consensus of every government. If you can keep the people as clueless as possible, you can win them. No government in any parts of the world would want to have smart countrymen and women. They don't want their citizens to be smart. They don't want their citizens to be educated. Because if you became educated, that means you would open your eyes. And if you open your eyes, you would see what's behind that. And if you see what's behind that, then you're going to stomp. You're going to pout. You're going to want this. You're going to want that. And they don't want you to do that. Because they want all the power to themselves. They want everything to themselves. Okay? Everything. What does Nancy Pelosi, who's an 80-year-old woman, have to do with me? This woman is a millionaire. How does she take care of me? What does she knows my needs? What does she know the needs of the people? Nothing. Not her. Not this Nimrod, Newt Gingrich, or what. Nobody. None of them do. But they pretend they do, but they don't. That's why you need to cut down limit on aging. You need to cut down limit on how long you can be a senator or House of Representative. You can cut down because I can see a president 8 years because it takes more than one term to do something good from other party. But you just can't put a 70-year-old or 60-some-odd-year-old to say this is what the country needs, because they don't know, because they're stuck in their own ways. You don't see politicians going door to door to see what you need, to see what you care about, what you care about. They do them in a forum, but they don't go to your house. They don't sit down. They don't know what people in the projects are going through. They don't know what poor people know what they're going through. Hillary Clinton stood the projects for a day. She lived she stayed over in a day in a project in New York. What you gonna learn about that? Nothing. You're not gonna learn nothing because you stood over a night in someone's home in the project. You're supposed to learn how these people live. You're supposed to learn how black people live in the black community, how Hispanic lives in the Hispanic community, because you stood there overnight. What does that tell me? It doesn't tell me anything. Stay there a year, stay there 2 years, and then you tell me how they live. Then you tell me how how people in the black community, how the Hispanic community are shorted out of a lot of things that in a white community is. And I'm not wanting to sound racist, because I'm not racist, and I'm not going here nor there. But this is white America. If you're white, you're privileged. No matter what you do, you're white, you're privileged. If you got money, you're privileged. If you come from a good home, you're privileged. Okay? And that's the sad part about it. The sad part about it, that they teach you about what white scientists did, or white historians did, but they don't teach you that there were black scientists, they were black businessmen, they were Hispanic businessmen, they were Hispanic scientists. They don't teach you that here, because if they taught you that, then you wouldn't have a white person to look up to. If black people had more black people to look up to, if Hispanic people had more Hispanic people to look up to, and then they could say, you know what, I'm not going to limit myself here. I'm going to go, because if that person made it, I'm going to make it. We need leaders, but we don't show them off. We don't. We do not show them off. And they don't teach us that in school. They teach you about Nostradamus. They teach you about Einstein. You think Einstein there was a lot of black scientists back in the days. All right. Michelangelo, you thought Michelangelo was the greatest painter in the world. There was a lot of black people. There was a lot of black and brown people who painted better than Michelangelo. But do you see that? No. We celebrate we give a white man, which is Christopher Columbus, a day for the discovery of what? Of America? When he didn't even set foot in the United States. All he did was rape the whole entire Caribbean, brought famine, brought rape, brought diseases. The man died of syphilis, for God's sakes. That's all he did. And you're giving him a day while you have, if you ever watched the movie Hittens, all right, that movie, I didn't even know that back in the 70s that these 4 black educated women were mathematicians and they helped NASA bring a ship back to Earth. Because their math was wrong, but not these mathematicians, NASA's math was wrong and their math was correct. They don't teach you that in school that this actually did happen. All right? Because they want the white narrative to follow you. They want you to follow that white narrative. Okay? I teach my kids you can become anything there is in the world. Look at Maria Sotomayor. She's Puerto Rican. Her parents came from Puerto Rico, moved to the South Bronx. They lived in the South Bronx. They lived in the projects. And she put herself through school. She went to school. And so now she's a Supreme Court judge. Do you think she said, because I live in the projects, I'm going to let this hold me down? Do you think she looked up to other white people? No, she looked, I'm assuming, I haven't even read her book, but I'm assuming that she looked up to her Hispanic counterparts. She looked up to her colored counterparts and said, you know what? This black person did this. Look how far this black person did this. Look how far this Hispanic person did this. Because they made it, I'm going to make it. But we don't have that here. We have white. You know the history of a country. Know the history. And to say that this country is the best, how can you say France is not better? How can you say England's not better? How can you say New Zealand's not better? Have we been there? Have you been there to say that this is the best country there is in the world? No. You can't. Because we only know what we know from here. Now, do we have a lot of opportunities here in the United States? Yes, we do. Do we have a lot of opportunities in other countries? I can't say yes, I can't say no, because I don't live there. I can't go by what news says, because the news is just doing their own agenda. They only want their own narrative, because no name. Okay, we don't know that unless you live there, unless you do things there. But the thing here is, the moral of the story is, let's stop galvanizing white America. Let's put everybody's lives in the same bowl as all. We all count. Yes, Mitch McConnell, an 80-year-old man, who's rich, but who's rich, still in the Senate with Nancy Pelosi. Man, if I'm 80 years old and I'm worth 20 million, Nancy Pelosi is worth more than that. And Mitch McConnell is worth 20 million. And you got that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to enjoy my grandkids. I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to give some of my money away, because what the hell am I going to do with 20 million? And Nancy Pelosi, I think, is worth 120 million. What am I going to do with that money? I'm not going to die with it. So give some of it away. There are poor people. She's the senator of Nancy Pelosi is the senator of California, and Skid Row has a lot of homeless people. She can help them, and she doesn't do that. Mitch McConnell is the senator of Kentucky, and Kentucky is one of the poorest state there is, one of the poorest, with Rand Paul. All right, Mississippi is run by Republicans. Mississippi has been run by Republicans for over 20 years, and people. Mississippi is the poorest country. It's the poorest state in the nation. Followed by New Mexico. Those are all Republicans. And I'm not trying to say blues and red, because I'm not with that. I'm just saying, how can you have the audacity to say that the Republican Party is the best, but yet one of the states is the worst, is the poorest? Why are you helping them out? Mississippi has a lot of very prejudiced people. Have you ever seen the Amira story? Look at that little black girl who got killed by a Karen, and her name is Karen. The little girl, look at my video on Amaya, and she was at her house. She came out of the bus, from the school bus. She was at her doorstep, and this Karen, the bus stopped, had a stop sign, and she was talking. I guess she was talking on the phone or something. And when she does the bus, she just, instead of stopping, she skidded, killed Amaya, cops came, nothing ever happened to her. This was like 3 years ago. Nothing happened to her. But in the same time, there were people who did the same situation. They killed the kids and stuff like that, and they went to jail. While this white woman didn't even to this day she hasn't seen jail at all, because the prosecution, she knows someone in the prosecution, she knows someone in the justice system. She has not seen a day in jail while this little girl is dead. All right, in Mississippi, she had to leave. Her mother, Amaya Braxton, Amaya's mother had to move away from her hometown because Mississippi was threatening her. Thank you, Ghetto Conscious. Right? Because Mississippi, her own people were going against her. And then you have Black Lives Matter, who are, Black Lives Matter, from my understanding, they have different chapters. Some separated because you're supposed to stand together, people. Mississippi is supposed to be a black community-based state. Stick together. You see these protests. You probably see 20 or 30 people there. I want Mississippi. I want to see a lot of people. A lot of people in Mississippi. I want to see a lot of people in Alabama. I want to see a lot of, because let me tell you something, people. And you think America is straight? America wouldn't be America if blacks didn't do the farms and Hispanics did your roads and immigrants did your roads. America would be nothing. Think about that. Think about that. When you eat your lemon, when you eat your lettuce, when you eat your tomatoes, when you eat that, and when you put on that shirt, who was the one that was able to do that? Blacks. Because white people with shell wasn't going to do that. All right? When you eat your little fresh vegetables, who picks those up? Hispanics. Because whites don't want to pick up fruits. Oh, no, don't do that. That's too much work for me. All right? Because if you put white people to work in farms, what's going to happen next? They unionize the shit out of it. You get 10 white people, they unionize it. You get 10 white people working a construction job, they unionize it. So what happens? White people don't want to do the jobs of what other people would do, because they want to get paid $30, $40, $50 an hour, which is fine by me, because that's what you studied for. But do not blame someone who's coming from another country to be here for a better life to gain a job that you're supposed to be doing, because you don't want to do it because that person, the contractor, doesn't want to pay you. So don't get mad at that man or woman who's coming from another country and is doing your job. Get mad at the one who's doing the hiring. That's the one you should be getting mad, because he wants to do low cost. Put it this way, Mexicans work hard. Every immigrant that comes to this country work hard, no matter from where you come from. Every immigrant's worked hard. Why? Because they know the value of money. They know what it is. While we take this for advantage, while we drink this, while I drink this, in a matter of 5 minutes, you go to all these countries, this little thing for them probably will last them a week, because they have no running water. We're in the 21st century and countries don't have running water. My brother went to a place in California, in Mexico, which is right off the border. It's in Baja California, a little bit further down. And the church helped out these families. Guys, if you see the way these families lived, they lived in huts. The church came and rebuilt them. $20 will last them a month for water. $20 will last them a month for water. And here in the United States, we take this little bottle for privilege. So, when they come to this country and they bust their ass, don't blame them. Because they're busting their ass. They're doing their job. Yes, do we want immigrants to come to this country legally? Yes, we do. But at the same time, we are penalizing those who are here legally. We're penalizing them. Because if you took over those 20 million illegal immigrants and you gave them a social security number and you have them pay income tax and you have them pay taxes, you wouldn't have a debt that you have now. You wouldn't. Yesterday I found out that there are over 60,000 illegal Canadians in this country. 60,000. I mean, you can't compare 60,000 to over 20-something million to what they say, but you don't hear the United States bitch about those 60,000 people who are here illegally, right? People complain about The border, how Mexicans and how bombers are getting into the Mexican border. But hello, there's a north border in Vermont where they're going, where they're coming through there. They're coming through New York, Vermont. What happened with those? Why are you paying attention to that? Why aren't you paying attention up there? All right? Go to California, you got gangs up their ass. Go to Chicago, you got gangs up your ass. Why is there still gangs out here, bro? This ain't the 1940s. Why can't you eliminate all those? This is just a me. If it doesn't happen in your neighborhood, if you ain't white and it's not happening in your neighborhood, they do not care. All right? And that is the truth. If you live in a white neighborhood, right? And you rob the house, you're guaranteed someone's calling the cops. But if you are in a black or brown neighborhood, they're not gonna do the same thing. It's unfortunate. You can call 911, but 911's not gonna come. And if they do come, it'll be late. They're like, that's just a poor neighborhood. Let them kill themselves. You know, when Candace Owens says black on black crime, when black people are killing black people, she's an idiot. Why isn't she saying white on white? What the white on white? Is white on white crime don't count? I mean, there's no such thing as white on white crime. So when a white person kills another white person, that's not white on white crime. All right? So that's why I don't listen to Candace Owens. I don't listen to the Shapiros of the world because they're nothing. They're just little maggots. They just want to be relevant in this world. And when people look at them, you're giving them platform. So I try not to mention them as much as I can because I don't want to give them any more relevancy that they don't deserve. But we should. If we put our minds to it, we can make this country good. Not great, but we can make it good. If you leave your political shit up aside and you leave religion to the side and you focus on what's the task at hand is keeping this country economics good, keeping the country that everyone should have the chance for a good life in this country, where you can own your home, where you can do good in your job, where you're getting paid what you deserve, not no $7.25 an hour, not no $10 an hour, and not $15 an hour is good for a young buck. For like my kids who are 18 and 19 and 20 years old, for them to get their feet wet, for them to, my kids work at McDonald's and in Walmart, one is getting 13, one is getting paid 10, like because we're here in North Carolina, which is not bad because they pay no bills. So you can take that money and you can learn what you can learn and say, this is what work is. But my kids don't know what really work is because my father used to go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, leave the house at 4 to go from the Bronx to Queens. All right, to Queens, to work in a factory, to be there at 7, to get out of there at 4, and then to come back home. He got home at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. My father worked in Puerto Rico with a minimum wage in 1886, 87, 89, up to 1992 was $3.35. $3.35. Luckily, the house was already paid for because it was inherited. The land was inherited, so my parents built a house there. But he was getting paid $3.35 an hour, and with that $3.35 an hour, my father took out a 1988 Suzuki Forester, people. Suzuki Forester, 3-cylinder. I think it cost like $8,000 to $12,000. My father paid $180-some a month. A month for that car. Plus, what was TV, what was cable, what was water, all right? Not cable, what was television, what was light, what was water, my mother's student loan. So those are 4 things right there on $3.35 an hour. That's what? $1.40, $1.50 a week on a 40-hour week. Plus what they take out, because they do take out Puerto Rico tax. So he had to pay $180 in car payments, plus water, plus light, and he made it. My father's not even rich. My father doesn't even know how to write a check, guys. He knows how to read and write, but his education, he doesn't know how to write a check. All that, my mom does that because he dropped out of school so he can take care of his family. All right. So $3.35 was good then. So $15 an hour for a young buck is good because they're learning how to work. They're learning the meaning of a dollar. But when you come to a person who's already 21, 22, 23 years old and wants to live on their own and wants to do things on their own, $15 an hour, it's not gonna make it. It's not. And if you busted your ass at a McDonald's and you busted your ass at a Wendy's, it's not the point of you flipping burgers. It's you're working, you're busting your ass off for these conglomerates, for these big companies that don't give a crap about you. And it's not about flipping burgers, guys. It's more than flipping burgers. It's gotta wake up. You gotta do your job. And sometimes most of the times when you go to the McDonald's and Burger King, you see more than what one person is doing the jobs of three. Because this person is absent. So now it takes turn. I've worked in McDonald's and I know how it is. My kids work in McDonald's and they tell me, your dad, this is cruel, you blah, 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 blah. But it is what it is. And I tell my oldest son, you're at where you're at because you want to be. But he's already 19. And I told him, go look for another job. I got you the McDonald's job just so you can get your feet wet. And you can learn the meaning of work so you have that money in your pocket. After that, don't quit this job and just go for another one. No. Get a job first that you like or get something and then just move on. This is just a learning experience, but be stuck in that McDonald's thing. I can't get them out of it. But it's just a learning experience, people. So they can learn. The younger you get your kids to work, the more appreciative they and later on in life they become more appreciative of things. You go to Africa, you go to these third world countries, and not just Africa, anywhere where you see kids and their mothers walking with buckets on their head. They have to walk miles for water, so they can have water, so they can have food on the table. Look at this. I'm watching The Real Texas. How these Haitians get, well, there's no more there. How these Haitians get there. And this is what gets me mad. All right. Haiti and the Dominican Republic is an island. They share an island. And the Dominican people don't like Haitians. When Haitian people go to the Dominican Republic and they can look for work, the Dominican people spits on them. They call them names. They say, go back to Haiti. They kick them. Instead of them coming together, so we're sharing an island together. Maybe there's certain things we won't share, like military, stuff like that. But we can share an island. We can help each other out. I mean, that's what we do. We help each other out. You got this over there. We got this over here. So you can send your people to help my people. I'll send my people to help your people. Let's make our economy big. Together we can grow. They don't do that. They're fighting against each other. You go to Colombia. Colombia is supposed to be a socialist state, a socialist country, where petroleum is the one that's supposed to pay. But you had Maduro, he's a schmuck. Then you had Chavez before him, pure dictator, another schmuck, right? So how are you supposed to live like that? And then these poor Venezuelans, they go to other countries like Peru or Panama, and they get chastised, they get spit on, they get ridiculed by Hispanic people. Is that some shit? That is some type of shit. But then now check this out. Then you see the Dominicans, they cross, they go illegally to Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico don't fuck with them. The people of Puerto Rico don't mess with them. Because there's a difference between Puerto Rican, Dominicans that go to Puerto Rico, and the difference between Dominicans that go to New York. Two totally different cultures. In a sense, they have the same culture, but two different mindsets. Dominicans that go to Puerto Rico goes there to work. Alright? And the Puerto Rican government, as of several years ago, they were able to get the license, they're able to get the licenses and stuff like that. So they don't discriminate. But they don't discriminate in Puerto Rico, but yet you in your country, and you discriminate against the Haitians because they want to go and they want to better themselves. Alright, and they're the same skin color that you are. And they want to better themselves, and you say no, and you spit in their face, and you say, go back to Haitian, you black. That is ridiculous. So instead of, not just here, but not just here in the United States, but instead of helping each other worldwide, what we do is we stomp on each other. We stomp. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want this. You stomp. And that's not good, guys. When you live in a world that is just in a life, if your life is consumed with me, you're never going to go anywhere in life. I don't care how rich you are. Because you're going to die an egotistical man. And no matter what good you did, it doesn't matter. Because, up there in heaven, there's a God watching us. And what you do down here is going to reflect on how let's just say this life is just a teaching lesson for your next life. If you're an asshole here, you're gonna be an asshole in the other life. So it doesn't matter what the good that you do here is what counts. So take that into consideration before you take out you take a person and say, you're Puerto Rican, I don't like you, or you black, I don't like you, or you Chinese, I don't like you, or you Italian, I don't like you, or you're Russian, I don't like you, because you always look the same. Because you look at a movie and everybody's supposed you look at a movie and they see Colombian, he's a drug user, he's a drug dealer. Mexican, he's a drug dealer. And you watch it Arab, he's a terrorist. That's because what you watch in the news, like my cup, King Geo. What you watch in the news, and it's a shame. When this pandemic came, I made sure, because my neighbors are elderly, I went to my neighbor's house, each and every one, to see what they needed. They needed bread. They needed me to go on an errand. I did that because that is the human thing to do. And even if they were young, I would still do it, because we live in the same place, and we have to look out for one another. All right. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat or Independent or Tea Party. It doesn't matter to me. If you're Catholic or Protestant, it doesn't matter, because I don't believe in that. I believe in helping one another out. And if I have $1 and I have to give it to you, and that's my last dollar, I'll give it to you. If I have $5 and that's my $5, I'll give it to you, because I know I'm going to get blessed. I know that I'm going to get more than that. So it doesn't matter to me. Whenever I see a person in New York, they say, let me get money for food, I'll buy you the food. I need a hotel, and I've done it. I need a hotel to stay in because I don't have the money. Can I get $70? I saw a girl go, can I get $70 for a hotel? If I could stay in a brothel, not a brothel, but I can stay in a hostel, brothel, hostel. If I can stay in a hostel, I say, I'll take you to the hostel, and I'll pay for it right there. They say no. I had another girl. He said, I want to go home. I need a Greyhound. I need a Greyhound bus ticket. It cost, I think it was like $60. I'll say, I was right there in 40 Douche on Times Square. And you go to Times Square. If you're on the east side, you have to walk to 10th Avenue, right there on 42nd Street. You just walk maybe 7 blocks down. I said, I'll take you there, and I'll buy you a ticket, and you can go home. No, I don't want to. But at least I offered. I wasn't about to give her money that I work for so she can go use drugs. Even though, giving is the point of, God says give. And it doesn't matter what they do with the money, but at least you gave. That's the way that I should see it. That's the way that I'm seeing it now. I give the money, you do whatever you want with it. It doesn't bother me. But at least I gave. And that's the least that you can do. And what that person does with that money, that's on them. But at least you did your part as a human being. You did your part. You contributed. If that person doesn't take that contribution, and puts it to his or her benefits, then that's on them. You can only do so much for an individual. Never give up on someone. Never do that. But you can only do so much. If a person wants to grow, if a person wants to do something good in his life, the person is going to do it. That's the fact. Look at any successful person in this world. It's going to tell you that. If you want something, you go for it. You succeed. You go for it. It doesn't matter if you're black. It doesn't matter if you're white. If you're black, if you're Hispanic, the motivation should be even more. All right? You got to work harder, but that motivation should give you more. Because once you're on top of where you want to be, you don't have to be rich, but you're on top where you want to be, you can say, you know what? I got here on my own. I did this on my own. I feel great. I feel blessed. Thank you, God. Thank you. Don't go saying, I did this, because I don't like it when people say, I did this because I wasn't black, or I wasn't white, blah blah blah. I don't like putting barriers in me that it has to be colored. I bust my ass as a Hispanic man. I bust my ass because I want to bust my ass. I have nothing to prove to nobody. When I stopped drinking alcohol, I didn't do it because of my wife. I didn't do it because of my kids. I didn't do it because of my parents. I did it for me. Because yes, they do suffer emotionally. They do, because they don't want to see your kid. They don't want to see their husband. They don't want to see a family member destroy themselves. So I didn't understand that then, but I understand it now as I'm been in my 8th year sober. Now I understand that. But the one who suffers the most is me. And if I didn't stop drinking, right, and I did it for me, so what would happen? If I did it for my wife or if I did it for my kids and I put that burden on me, right, because it is a burden, and I failed them. And I'm going to feel like shit, to tell you the truth. But if I put the burden on me, which is my reflection, I say, you know what? I'm doing this for me. And if I fail me. All right? So when I stopped drinking, I said, I'm doing this for me. I'm tired of waking up in the mornings all messed up. I'm tired of, I had 2 seizures. I had 2 DTs, what they call it, delirium. I was hearing voices at one time. I heard voices at one time. I was tired of being tired. 25 years of drinking. Now, don't get me wrong. I had a great time. If it wasn't for drinking, I would have never had my beautiful daughters. I would have, because it wouldn't have put me in a place where I was. I would have never gone to Florida. I don't like Florida. I would have never gone to Florida. I would have never met my daughter's mom where I was in a shelter, in a homeless shelter, because my sister threw me at the house. Right? So those things happened. Under why? Because I was drunk. I wasn't a belligerent drunk. I was nothing like that, but I drank every day. In my job, I was always good at my job. I never got fired from my job. But if those things didn't happen while I was drunk, I would never have my daughter. So I don't regret that. I regret some decisions. Well, you know what? I don't like saying regret. I don't like using regret. I could have used different. I could have gone different routes. But I'm glad where I'm at now, which is 8 years sober. I'm not going back to drinking because I don't believe in the word relapse. I don't believe in none of that. But I will never go back to drinking. I can attest to that. And I've been through some rough situations. My father passed away. I didn't drink. There's certain things that happened to me personally, and I didn't go drinking. I stuck with my HIV meds for a while. I stuck with my sobriety for a while, and and it wasn't hard. I mean, it was hard to stop drinking, but I had to change my mindset. Once I changed this, and once I changed this, everything was easy peasy. You know. So if you want something, you have to go for it. My problem is, to be honest with you, is that I preach, but I don't put my preaching sometimes in charge, because there's a lot of things that I want to do that I just want to. I love to motivate people, and if I can motivate people and I can do that motivation with myself, I'll be content. My greatest move in the world, it was having my kids, my 2 daughters, and getting married the second time was great. My wife is she's my rock. So I'm grateful for that. But I need to be more assertive. And being so many years drinking, I just don't know how to do that. I watch Shaquille O'Neal, his motivational speech. I watch other people's motivational speech, and they hinder here. They go here. But to put it forward is kind of hard for me, because I never had that thrive. Because my thrive was always drinking. So it's kind of hard. I tend to believe that I'm an extremely intelligent young man. I'm 49, but I'm still young at heart. My PlayStation 5 is right there. But I'm an extremely talented young man. And with my talent, I haven't put it to use. And I'm afraid I'm going to be 50 next month in November. And I'm like, I have to do something, because I don't want to die and not leave a legacy behind. My kids will be a legacy, but I want to leave a legacy behind. That other people can say, you know what? Look at King Gio, man. He was drinking and blah, blah. Because let me tell you something. When I see a person, when I tell my story of HIV, and I was in Puerto Rico, I've always disclosed. And when I saw these 2 girls, and they cried to me, and they said, Gio, look at you. You look all healthy. And my father just passed away from AIDS. The other girl, my father just passing away from me. I was going out with this girl whose uncle died of AIDS right in front of us. They never told us it was AIDS, but we knew it was AIDS because the family was ashamed. And when they said that to me, I'm like, I feel blessed, and I wish that I was there, so I could, give them a little bit, because having HIV is nothing bad. It's all in here, and I wish I was able to tell them something. So when I speak to that motivation, and when I motivate those people, that makes me feel good. I motivated a girl. I was going out with an HIV positive girl because I wanted to see if having a relationship with an HIV positive girl, it was different, the same. But it was basically the same what's going on with a regular girl, you know. And she was afraid of telling her mother and father that she had HIV. Just the reaction, you know, the Puerto Rican, oh, people to this day, there's still stigma about HIV, and it's a shame. So I sat down with her and I told her, this is what I said. I said, who are you closest to the most? She said, my mom. So I said, that's who you're going to tell. Tell your mom first. So we went to the beach. I was, doing the Geo thing, drinking my little beer. And she went to her mom. We were at the beach, and she told her mom what she had, and blah, blah. Her mother cried. Her mother hugged her. She said, why you didn't tell me this before? That same day, we went to the house, and the mother told her dad, and her dad hugged her and said, don't worry, you're our little girl. And she had this relief. And I felt great because I helped somebody tell their story to their own parents because they were afraid. And that makes me good. That makes me feel good. So I'm HIV positive for 19 years. And when I tell my story and people are able to come out and tell their parents that they're HIV positive, or tell a loved one that they're HIV positive, or to tell their boyfriend or girlfriend they're HIV positive, and they say because it was a King Geo, I enjoy that. That makes me feel good because I helped somebody else. Because it's not easy being HIV positive and being stigmatized. When I was HIV positive, I told my mother, but my mother already knew because of I tell you how it went. My wife at that time, she cheated on me, and when she got pregnant by this guy, she got tested in my hometown. So she got tested in my hometown, and the person that works in my hometown, the pharmacist that works there, called my mom. They said, listen, this girl took an HIV because she was pregnant, and she came out positive. So I was in New York because she cheated on me. So I was like, I don't want to be bothered with this bitch. She went with this guy. I left my daughter with my mom because I wanted to be relaxed. And my mother kept asking me in New York, calling me all the time. Did you get tested? Did you get tested? I'm like, why is this infatuation about me getting tested? What is something that you're not telling me? And they never told me. But I'm glad they didn't tell me, because if they told me, I would have stood in New York, and I would have never gone back to Puerto Rico because I would have been ashamed, because no one in Puerto Rico where I live at knows that I'm HIV positive, because that's my story to tell. And I don't tell them because I don't know how the town, we live in a small town, I don't know how they're going to react, which I really don't care. But at that time, it was because I didn't tell no one, because I didn't want my daughter to get stigmatized. I still want my daughters to have friends. I wanted my daughters to be liked. I didn't want my daughter, don't be hanging out with her because her father's HIV positive, or don't be hanging out with her because he got the ninja, that's what they call her, or he got the virus, or he got the monster. I didn't want her to suffer, so I just kept that to myself. But when I met a woman that I did like, and something did get serious, I did tell her. And if she accepted me, great. And if she didn't accept me, great too, because everybody's not going to accept you having HIV. That doesn't happen that way. So if I was going to be in a serious relationship, I would say, listen, this is what I had, this is my story. And for the most part, they'd be great. Gee, I can date you. That's no problem. But that two girls said, no, I can't date you. That's fine. That's cool. I respect your decision. We can remain friends, bro. I'm all good with that. I don't neglect no one's friendship. You cool with that? We cool with that. We can be friends if we don't. That's cool. But I tell a woman, I disclose for the simple reason is because she has the right to decide if she wants to date me. She has the right to decide. I'm in this relationship with Gio, and if something happens, that's on me. I don't want to take that apart from her and say, I didn't tell you because blah 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 blah, and then it happens, and then you didn't tell me. No, I don't want to. I have a conscience. The same way when I had an ex-girlfriend, my ex-fiance, an Italian girl who was Catholic. She let her Catholic beliefs go into. We were 4 months pregnant, and she decided to get an abortion because of her mom. And I'm all pro-choice. I'm pro-choice, and I'm also against abortion to an extent. Larry Elder, to an extent, but I'm pro-choice, and that's all I wanted. At the end of the day, if she wanted to have an abortion, you can have an abortion, cool. I mean I agree with it, but I'm gonna stick by you because you're my partner. You're my girl. That's what girls. I mean, that's what good partners do. You stick to it. You don't have to always agree on everything, but I'll be with you. You know, but she never gave me the chance. She just went. She got an abortion. Didn't tell me. To this day, she probably wouldn't even tell me. But she didn't tell me. She just says, "Oh, I lost the baby," which is a lie because we every OBGYN appointment, I was always there. We always talked about it. We picked the girl's name. We picked school. I'm not school. We picked clothes. We picked everything. And then when she told her mom she was pregnant, oh, you must have stuck in their head like, oh, you can't do this. You can't go because when we went to her church, when we went to a church and we went to the church, she said, Gio, don't tell nobody that we engage because they won't like it. You know, don't tell them I'm pregnant. Because it being her coming from an Italian family, real strict Catholics, she was the only girl in the family, to be honest with you. She was the only child, and she had no female cousins. Everyone was male. So they were very protective of her. But you know, to let that happen, to a decision like that happen, because based on your parents' belief, it was kind of it was kind of it was kind of wrong. But I didn't get that chance to point my view, and that's what got me angry. So I learned from that, and when I was HIV, when I came out HIV positive, I said I would never take that away from someone. That's her decision. My decision is to tell you that I am positive. Now you decide whether you want to be with me or not. And if you don't want to be with me, we are friends. I'm cool with that. And if you want to be with me and ride this out with me, cool, that's cool. And what I was gonna tell you what my mom said. So I thought I was gonna get this great support. So when I told my mom that I was HIV positive, because she already knew, the first thing she tells me is that, I mean, my mom and I are cool now, you know. She told me, don't worry about it. You're not the first or the last. I was like, well, I expected like, don't worry, man, I got you. We are in this together. This is not gonna beat you. This is not gonna be the end of the world. I'm gonna be with you. God's with you. You have a family here. I didn't get that support. That support came from here. And then when I met my wife, before we even had the first kiss, I told her what I had. She goes, I don't care. That's my decision. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. But I always took care of myself. My viral loads has always been undetected from day one. And that was without meds too. I started taking meds 10 years later. And that was back in 2002 that I got that I got the news. So my wife has been my rock. She's been with me through every appointment. She go through every education. You taking your meds? Have you taking your meds? She was with me through my alcoholism, guys. Through my alcoholism. And when I decided to stop, she was like, every day, I got you, baby. You can do it. You can do it. No matter what I do, she's always there. I can get the most menial job there is. She goes, are you happy? I'm happy. That's all that matters. As long as you're happy, I'm happy. But I don't want you to get a job and you not be happy, because then I won't be happy. And that's the rock, bro. That's the ride or die. You know, so I'm happy with that. You know? So, with all that said, I thank you for watching this long video. I appreciate you guys. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. And thank you for watching the King Gio Show. God bless. Let me go here. Let me go here. Yes.